But yesterday on our show, we spoke to Timothy Duckett. He's the owner of Euphoria Social Club, about his recent arrest by police after an altercation with him. He told us that the social club involves users of cannabis who would otherwise all be growing their own marijuana, but because not all of them have green fingers and are able to cultivate those plants, they contribute and support a few of the club members who do it on their behalf. And he explained that any payment would be in line with the equivalent of a tip in a jar. The video of his arrest acquiring some level of virality on social media. But Myrtle Clark is the director for Fields of Green for All. Firstly, give me your response to the video that you saw at the weekend, Myrtle.
Hello, Lester. Yes, I just have to applaud Timothy and his partner for actually videoing that whole raid and arrest. It was incredibly brave, and it was really good to share with the South African public what goes on and the abuse by the police. So our reaction was we were watching it as it was live. We were watching it go viral, and I think it's a really good way to get this terrible issue out into the public.
Because there seems to be some confusion, Myrtle, about what the legislation says about the private use of cannabis versus what are known as haze clubs versus what are known as dispensaries, and whether the public or even the police can differentiate between those three very broad categories. What is your explanation? What is the law when we're trying to define private use in your own setting, a haze club or a social club versus a dispensary where you possibly may consume on the premises, Myrtle?
Okay, so first of all, it's important for everybody to know that in August 2023, the police put out a directive that came from the National Commissioner's Office. And the one thing that is just all pervasive that people are saying over and again, and I'm sure Timothy was just nervous and that's why he said it, is there's no amount of cannabis that can be deemed dealing. So I'm reading from the directive, and it says, the amount of cannabis found in the possession of a person for private consumption, in private or for cultivation, cannot be used by a member, that's the police, to presume that the person is in fact dealing in cannabis. Okay, so that's the first issue, because we don't have any regulations to go with the new law. So obviously in the end they're probably going to put amounts in for personal or whatever, so this will be cleared up. But the government have a terrible PR problem. So we don't have any regulations. We haven't heard from the government what is going on. There's no black and white. But especially in Cape Town and also in other places, but especially in Cape Town, we see all these dispensaries. Now, a dispensary for cannabis is a California term, but a dispensary dispenses medicine. And all of these places that have popped up calling themselves dispensaries and supposedly dispensing medicine are abusing a certain permit that comes from SAPRA that allows for the provision of an unregistered medicine. It's called a Section 21. Now, if you read on News 24, you'll see that there's been something in the news for a woman who was trying to access medicine for cystic fibrosis. And there's experimental medicine in America that is available, but it was very expensive. And she could have got a Section 21 permit in order to import that medicine from America for her health condition. But a Section 21 doesn't allow you to sell cannabis. It has to be for a proper medical condition. It has to be prescribed by a doctor. It has to be dispensed by a registered pharmacist, and it has to be imported. Those people who have got proper Section 21 permits, the medicine that they are prescribed is imported Canadian cannabis. And it's very, very expensive. We had one guy who went through the process, and it's going to cost him about 2,000-3,000 rand a month to get this Canadian cannabis oil. So what these people have done, and this is spread amongst the police, the Section 21, they've got the misinformation that a Section 21 is legal, but it's not. So it's a loophole, and they are abusing these Section 21 permits and calling themselves a dispensary and causing our cannabis community to go and lie. Oh, I've got a backache. Oh, I've got mental health issues.
So Myrtle, you take almost a middle ground. You say that, yes, you largely advocate for police to update themselves and police members to update themselves of the law, but also to members of a cannabis community to say, these are the laws. Let us work collectively for targeted amendments and regulations, and don't almost discredit a broader cannabis movement. That's what I glean from your positioning.
Exactly, Lester. So that is why at Fields of Green for All, we have intervened at the Supreme Court of Appeal in the Hayes Club case as friends of the court in order to put this forward. Because legally, if you read the judgment from 2018 in the Constitutional Court, the private use of cannabis within private spaces is legal. But that leaves it really, really open. So the Hayes Club case is targeting it so that we can force the government to include private cannabis clubs within regulations. And I mean, we've been working on private cannabis clubs since 2015. But it's really, really frustrating because the police have had no training. They've had this directive that was issued last year. But, just this year alone, the police have had 46 different directives on different issues. And we have hundreds of thousands of police officers in hundreds of different police stations around the country, and the word is just not filtering in. I visited Dispensary Police, and they never heard of the directive. So the government have got a PR problem, and the police have got a training problem, and the cannabis community are caught up in this.
Myrtle Clark, really appreciate your time. Director, Fields of Green for All.